What's going on, brother?
What's up, JoJo? How you feeling, bro?
Man, another day, man. I didn't think we was gonna be able to make the show today, man.
What? I
My
agree.
voice, man. I was lost my voice the last couple of days, man. Just starting to get it back. So I definitely got my bottle of water here.
Right, right.
No, hey, look, no free promo, no free promo. Got the
No free
bottle of water here.
promo. Got you.
Um, but I mean, we're gonna make it work. We're gonna
Absolutely.
definitely make it work. So, for those, we're gonna give people some time to tune in. Before we get into it. But what's going on your end, man? What's the weather like on your end?
I'm loving the weather. It's everything else that comes with it. I ain't really feeling.
Hey, look, I'm in Georgia, and it's been like in the 30s, man.
What?
Believe it or not, Al Gore wasn't lying, man. That global warming,
Oh, it's nice up here.
oh nah, it's like in the 30s, man. My son's still wearing this jacket, man. He got to wear a hoodie and a jacket in the morning, go to the bus stop.
Well, it's cold in the mornings here, but then it gets a lot better. Um, it gets a lot better as the day progresses. Like I think the day was what 65, something like that, like
Okay.
67. So it was a great day, man. Great weather. But there's everything else, man, that's coming with it.
Yeah, and I can totally understand. All right, well, we just gonna
Mhm.
go ahead and jump into it. Thank you guys for tuning in to Final Notice Podcast. Again, we are streaming live every Wednesday on YouTube and Facebook at 9 p.m. That's every Wednesday. So you don't have to call me and ask me or call Aaron and ask me, y'all going to be on today? Every Wednesday at 9 p.m. We will be streaming live until further notice because it is going to be some episodes where we're not going to be live sessions, but for the majority of the time, every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Tell somebody to tell somebody to know somebody to tell somebody to tune in. Um, Welcome again to Final Notice Podcast. We are continuing our conversation from last week, men in leadership and what it looked like. So if you did miss last week's episode, you can stay on and watch this today's episode, which I still feel like you'll get a lot from it. But also go back and watch part one because I feel like you have to go back and watch the first part to understand where we are in the second part or part two. So with that being any more delays, I'm gonna let my boy go ahead and introduce himself as he always does, and then I'm gonna go.
Hey, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for taking your time out and supporting us. The phone calls, the text messages, the DMs. I appreciate the love and support. I appreciate the questions. I appreciate people challenging the logic and the thoughts behind the things that we have. And like always, my belief system, who I am, is rooted in God, not religion, not church, it's in God. So my relationship that I take my time out to meditate and pray and develop with God is most important to me. So yeah, man, I thank y'all for tuning in. I hope y'all really enjoy this.
And like he said, man, definitely appreciate the feedback, positive and negative, because at the end of the day, we don't know everything, but we strive to learn together. So we definitely appreciate it. Those who are tuning in, we hope that you are being blessed. It is not just for the men. Even though it's directed towards the men, the women can also tune in and chime in. If you have a man in your life, if you have a teenager, a son, a brother, a cousin, tell them to tune in because at the end of the day, it is a platform for men to learn to grow. But it's also important for our women to understand where we're coming from. So it is also important for them to also tune in as well. Again, my name is JoJo. You guys know me from the FTP movement, which stands for the people by the people. This is the Final Notice podcast. And without any further ado, we are going to jump right into it from last week's conversation,
I just
part
wanted to
two.
shout out. This is a cool message I wanted to share with you, man.
What's up?
I got one of the messages I did get was from a young lady, and she was saying that it actually helped her look at or understand men differently. So
And
yeah,
that's
just to prove your point, you know what I'm saying, from the
and that
first
and
conversation.
that's what it's all about. And that we appreciate the sister that did get that knowledge from that conversation. But before I even start, I want to give a special shout out. They say you have to give credit when credit is due, right?
Hmm.
You have to acknowledge people to let them know that what they're doing, you appreciate it. I
Right.
should have did this a while back, maybe like a couple of episodes back, at least after the first episode. But I would like to take the time out and give a special shout out to my wife Dana Bopong for doing the producing behind the scenes. She has never had any experience to doing anything like this, so for her to be able to cue everything in, put everything up, again, thank you so much. I do appreciate you for doing this. Thank you. And I'm trying to learn too as well, so that way everything don't fall on her. But until I figure that out, she's been doing an amazing job, and she's the reason why all this
Yes,
is.
sir.
She puts everything together, and we just come on and allow God to use us. So I thank God for giving her the knowledge and understanding for her to be able to be tech savvy, so that she can have help put this together. So definitely want to give a big shout out to Dana, who is my wife, going into our 6 year now, I believe. I hope I'm right. Um, if not, I'm a dead man. But I think I'm right.
This is going to be your final
Going into my
notice.
6 year. And this is why it's important for men in leadership, because in leadership, you have to know things like this, right? So it's a perfect segue to go in. So look, if you tuned in last week, right, we started a conversation about
Oh
the
man.
importance of men in leadership and why certain things has to be in order. And I think when we was talking offline before we went on, we was talking about a specific topic that's been trending heavy, heavy, and it's really important because it was coming from, to me, from my eyes, and I may be wrong. And again, this is not to talk bad about anybody or bring anybody down, but from what I see from my perspective, it's a godly man who is married to a worldly woman, and they're trying to bring both sides together. And if those who don't know what I'm talking about the picture that's been floating around of Russell Wilson and his beautiful wife, Sierra Wilson. Was it the Grammys? I believe it was the Grammys, right?
Who knows?
Okay,
I
so
don't.
there,
I really don't pay
I
attention
don't
to that
remember
much.
exactly what award show it was,
Right.
but
It was like a ball, like a Hollywood
yeah,
ball,
but
from
I
my
think it was one
understanding.
of one of the other Grammys or one of the Emmys or one of the Grammys, whatever it is that they be
Right.
celebrating. So she has a outfit on, and the outfit that she has on, to me personally, is the outfit that she has to wear in the bedroom for her husband. Yes, and thank you so much. It was for the Grammys, and
Okay.
the outfit that she has on. Oh, okay, so it's for the Oscar. Okay, so somebody says the Oscar. So we know it's Grammys or Oscars, but we know it's one of those um, big award shows that they do. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, she has an outfit on, right? And the outfit, the picture that was taken was very interesting because he was giving her a moment for her to have her shine. But the picture, they said pictures worth 1,000 words. And what I got out of that picture, to be honest with you, I felt very disappointed for him in the sense that he represents or he depicts himself to be a man of God or a God fearing man, right?
Mm-hmm.
That he has
Mm-hmm.
a personal relationship with God. And
Mm-hmm.
here he has his beautiful wife dressed in an outfit that I felt personally as a married man myself that my wife cannot wear that outside of the bedroom. But she was able to wear it to an award show or award ceremony. She shouldn't. I mean, she if you they took the picture from the backside, so all her ass was out there. There's nothing covering it. Everything is a see through. This her. I mean, her straight cheeks. Everything was being shown in there. And Russell Wilson is in the back of the picture, standing there looking. And I'm looking like, yeah, I get it. You want to support your wife, but as a man in your household, where does that leadership falls for you as a man for not allowing? I'm not saying asking, because there's some point of a man's leadership where you have to have your foot down. Not saying to be a dictator, but there's certain things that you have to put your a foot down on certain things that will bring a negative attention to your household. That was just my opinion. I felt like it was an outfit where she could wear all black dress that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be see-through because she's a beautiful woman and she has a nice figure. She keeps herself in shape that it will still look she will still look amazing without having to go to that far. far with that outfit. What is your take on that?
I don't think mine is as extreme, or because some people would consider it extreme, or whatever the case may be. If you go back and use the foundation of how we started the pod last week about it being multiple kingdoms within this world,
Hmm.
like we have the sports world, and she's a part of the entertainment world, so these are two different worlds that exist, and to me. Um, I don't necessarily look at it from like it to me. It does say more about him as a man. So let's just say that. Um, I think I would not quite word it the way that you would word it as far as putting your foot down,
Hmm.
because you got to look at it like this. She's a grown woman. If your wife right now chose to leave out the house in that outfit, you cannot do anything about it.
Yeah, I can.
You can't. You can't
Yeah, I
physically
can.
restrain her without going to
No,
jail.
she
The
can go,
other
but when
side,
she come back, she might have to find a place to stay. Yeah.
all right. So let me get this out. All right, you, you can't do that, man. I'm just saying you can't do that.
You know I can't
You
do that, man.
because
I'm
you
gonna be
said for
upset.
better or for worse,
Yeah, I'm gonna be
for
upset. I'm
rich
gonna be
or for
upset, but I
poor.
can't do that. I'm not gonna do that.
So part of me was like, I wouldn't have stood next to her. I would not have been involved in that picture at all. If that's what she wanted to do, that's what she want to do. I want to always love and support my wife. I'm gonna allow that, but I will voice my displeasure. My thing is how I would look at that situation again from an honoring standpoint. Like, how is you honoring your husband?
Mm,
I had this interesting conversation as well because there was this lady. She says that we are individual entities that I'm saying that is Sierra and that is Russell Wilson. Like, why can't she have the freedom to express Sierra, and why she can't have the freedom to just be her? And I said, well, here's the godly man aspect of it to me. If you I'm not going to say she's not a believer because I don't know what she believes in,
mm,
right? We know where she comes from. We know what she stands for, what I'm saying, and how she do that. But you can't say that she's not a believer as well, right? So then you look at it, like you said, as a man of principle, as a man of standard, and this is what you represent, you know. Um, I probably, so I was in a relationship one time, and the person I was with had aspirations to be a part of that world, and I
mm.
didn't. That person used Denzel Washington as an outlier. I think it was Samuel Jackson. Now you can really say Viola Davis to a certain degree because you really don't hear too much about her husband. And I was like, I don't. But see, me, my standards and who I am, I do not wish to partake of that world. I even struggled dealing with being on this camera and accepting this camera. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm never really one of them type of people that want to be out in the forefront. So my thing is, if that's what you wanted to do, and that's what I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't. So I never personally would have married someone like that because your values and the things that you stand for and the stuff that you want. And I think that's what I'm saying. You got to go back to the basics. You can't just be enticed by a look or an image or appeal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have a standard about what you want and what it is that you desire before you even get into that. So now you are a Christian man that's supposed to have this clean cut image, and you're supposed to have this clean cut um, persona, and you take and marry this woman that really doesn't appear to be the stand on the same place that you stand in, right? And where you coming from. So that's right there, like in the book of Amos, said, how can two walk together unless they agree, right? In the book of Mark, it says a house divided can't stand.
Hmm.
So you got these two conflicting worlds, and you got these two conflicting perspectives, and you have these two conflicts of interest that's happening. You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's my perspective on it as a leader, as a man. I wouldn't have married her in the first place. So I would not even position
and
myself
and it,
to
and
do
it,
that.
and I'm let's so we let's clarify. Maybe you're right. I didn't choose the right word when I said put his foot down, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to say be Saddam Hussein. I'm not saying.
No, I get
I'm
it. I
not
get
saying
it.
that.
But I'm
But
just
I
saying you
think
just
what I
gotta be
should say
careful. That's
was,
all. You know.
and I'm not attacking the women, and I'm not attacking Sierra. My conversation or my disagreements is more so with Russell, because me as a man of God, or of a believer in God, if I put that out to social media platform or to just society alone, and I do something that doesn't show that shows otherwise of me representing the kingdom, I
Hmm.
then become liable, an open target, because I have screamed out my personal relationship. I have opened that door to criticism to a lot of degrees, in the sense that here I am representing the kingdom, but I'm bringing some type of a shame to myself into the kingdom. So
Right.
that's why I said I'm not going towards Sierra, because she is who she is. As I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
she's a beautiful woman. I don't find her sexually attractive, because I have my beautiful wife. My wife is my ideal mate, and that's why I married my wife. But as a man of God, and I see, before I get into that, I see a comment. I already see a comment that has been posted by, I believe it's Doris Smith. And thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this is the Final Notice podcast. It's a live interacting podcast where we interact with the viewers. So if you do have a question, please post it. If you have a comment, please
Comment.
post it.
Yeah.
We'll try to get to it. But she asked a good question. She asked, how is she honoring God? God says that the body belongs to her husband. First Corinthians chapter 7, verse 4. And before I let you answer, because I'm sure this is towards you or towards us. Um, but you made a great point. You said we bring in two worlds, two different worlds.
Hmm.
This, well, actually three. He screams the godly world, then he's in the
Hmm.
sports world, and she's in the entertainment world.
Right.
So it's three worlds
Hmm.
trying
Hmm.
to fit under one world,
Hmm.
which is the God's world, right? Or the godly world.
So he say.
So
So
he's
he. So he
perfect.
say.
So he says, because everybody that screams God don't mean to serve the same God. His God could be water. Just because he said God doesn't mean he's serving the one true
The
living
true
God.
and living God. Yes, indeed.
So that's a good question. What is your rebuttal to that comment?
Oh, so first
Thank
of
you
all,
so much.
shout out Doris Smith. That's actually my mother. Hey, Ma. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you for showing up. Um, that my response to that is 100% true. Like, if you read that particular chapter, and that's a lot of things I talk about as far as relationships is concerned, is that your first duty and your obligation as a married person is unto God, unto your husband and unto your wife.
Mhm.
As you being single, your first duty and your first obligation is unto God. You know what I'm saying? So that is absolutely true. Our body is his. It goes into another conversation that we had. I don't want to get into it right now, but it's just the level of how much are we actually um, doing to please our Father, as
Mhm.
opposed to how much of this is are we doing to actually please ourselves.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because that right there takes a whole nother level of, like you said, not just submission but commitment. You know what I'm saying? A whole nother level of um, sacrifice. Because you got to understand, I'm not doing this to please me. I'm not doing this to please a person. I'm doing this because it's going to make God happy.
Mm.
You know. So yeah. Oh, I want to shout out to Terrence and Latoya as always. Thank you, Toya, for your questions and
Yeah,
putting it in.
she
I
asked
don't know. I
she
don't
asked.
know where it says in the Bible about putting on clothes or being covered a particular part or anything like that. But I know, to me, I would file that whole conversation under honoring your husband from a female standpoint. But as a man standpoint, I would file it under principle. So I will follow the principle as a man, as far as you having a standard, as far as you having morals, and things like that. So I don't really know if there's, like, some particular out clause of just covering up your body and everything like that. So
That's more so from the Muslim practice, where women have to be covered, um, from head to toe. I think the Muslim Americans have more of a somewhat of a leniency compared to the Muslims back in the native lands back
Hmm.
home,
Hmm.
because America is a country where you wanna fly a bat around.
But what's more interesting? I posted something on Facebook a while ago.
Hmm.
But even this to me should spark a bigger conversation about what the gospel looks like in today's world, because like you said, you look at America, you look at the changes and the things that's happening in this world, although God's word will stay the same, but we went from a fire and brimstone era to a prosperity era. Now you look at this era that we're in right now, is full of pride, ego, and selfishness. And I was wondering, like, actually, what does the gospel in today's world look like? But we can save that for another conversation,
Oh
another
no,
time.
we don't got to step for another conversation. This is the Final
No,
Notice podcast.
no,
We
no,
can
we
be,
want, no. We got to do
oh,
this
you want to say?
leadership
Oh,
thing,
okay,
man.
all right.
We got
Because
to do this leadership,
once you
man. Let's
once you
go
open
write
that,
it down.
hey,
And
once you
if
open
we
that
got time, we
Pandora's
can get
box,
into it,
man, we
man.
got we got to see what's coming out of that box, man. Because that's a great question. Because I think that's actually a great segue into the first question. What
There
is
you
leadership in our household? Because today we're talking about the leadership in the household for men.
go. Right.
Men in leadership. Last week we talked about men in leadership as an opening topic.
Hmm.
Today we actually diving down into what man leadership in the household look like.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so today we're trying to figure out as a man, what is your role in the leadership and what does it look like in your household? Because remember when we started talking, I said we was under the instruction that a man was the breadwinner. He's supposed to
Hmm.
work, bring the money home, make sure everything is taken care of. Then we went into the era where women have, by the grace of God, women have the same equal rights as men do to go out in the workforce and also work. Now, the financial statuses has been changed because of the freedom for everybody to have equality, where most, if not some women, majority of some women, depending on what social class you're talking about, bring more money in than their counterparts.
Hmm.
And I made a comment. I said, "Well, if as a man, does bringing money home make you the leader of your household?"
No, money don't make you a leader of your household. Your status, your position, and your mindset make you a leader of your household.
And may say it again, Aaron.
I don't even know what I just said, man.
Oh
I'll
no,
be
you got to
honest.
say it
That
again,
came
bro.
from my heart, man. That came from the spirit.
Well,
Like,
you
I'll be
want no,
honest with
and
you.
no. It's a reason why. It's a reason why, brother. No, it's a reason why I'm saying
Money
to
don't
say it
make you the
again.
leader. Money don't make you the leader of your household. I'm just being honest. That's just, it doesn't
It
make
don't.
you. It's a
It, it,
farce,
it,
bro. Because like I
you're
said
right.
before and last week, I had none. You know what I'm saying? I was living in my mom's basement with my daughter. You know what I'm saying? I didn't. It didn't make me less of a man. I had money. You know what I'm saying? And even if I was married to someone and I didn't, well, I actually been in situations with people where I was in relationships and didn't have money, and you know what I'm saying, it still didn't make me less of a man. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just talk about that aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't even married, but I was just dating women when I did not have money, and they still treated me like a man.
Mm-hmm.
So money don't have nothing to do with it. It's your mind, your mindset, um, your position, as far as if you understand who you are in Christ and you understand your status. I don't never have to beat on my chest. My mother, it's funny that she's on here tonight. My mother used to tell me, she said, if you have to go around and tell people you humble, more than likely you're not humble.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have to walk around my house and tell people I'm the man, more than likely I'm not a man. All that is a mindset, is understanding your position.
So let me ask you this: do you think today's men really understand what their role are in marriages or in the household for
No,
that matter?
no, I don't even think old men know.
Mm.
I mean, I hope no one gets offended by this. It's just
I
my
know. I
own
hope they
personal
do because
opinion.
if they get offended, that means there's the truth behind it. So I hope they do get offended because
I
we want to
said,
make sure
I
that
used to say,
they change, man.
no, I got you, I got you. I just, I used to say some of the worst people in the world to me is men that's 45 years and older. And the reason why I say that is because they grew up in an era where that chauvinistic mindset and that bravado was everything that they had. And that was the only thing they had. I'm the man, I'm this, I'm that. The chauvinistic, they were trained a certain way to think a certain way. And as they got older, because no one really challenged them or helped them see something different, they stay the exact same way and their thinking pattern is the same way. So some of them still have this chauvinistic type mindset where they think that their wives is supposed to be their mothers. So yeah, I just think that that's, I'm not saying to everybody, because there are men that's over 45 that do have a certain, that do walk in humility and do walk in the word and they understand these concepts. But I just, for the most part, when I hear men talk with that mindset, it just kind of like irks my soul.
So, and I'm glad you said that, because when I look at the role of a man in relationship nowadays, the men in relationships are lost. Men are
Mm-hmm.
lost. We're so far lost in the communities, it doesn't even make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just lost in the godly world, but we're also lost in the worldly world. Like, we are
Mm-hmm.
lost in both sides. We
I
are
agree.
completely felon. Um, I was listening to somebody on TikTok. Shout out to
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, because they do be putting out some good content. For certain people, be putting out some really good stuff. He said, "How can you call yourself a father, right, when you
Mm-hmm.
don't even know when your child's doctor's appointments are? You don't know your child's first class teacher's name. You don't even know their first teacher name. You don't know his best friend's name. You don't know what his favorite food is. You don't even what size he wearing clothing or shoes." And I said, man,
Right.
that's I said, well, that's really interesting, because when he said that, I had started thinking. I said, what size does my son wear? Oh, what kind of clothes does he wear? Because he asked the question. Yeah, I know this stuff. Oh, okay. Maybe I might not know his best friend's first name, but I know who he plays with and where he goes to play at. But
Mm-hmm.
it goes to show that we as men, because women know all these things,
Right.
because they're that nurturing side, because they're the ones who take care of the household. Um, they know everything and then some. They do. Women do a lot, but the
Mm-hmm.
men, we seem to have forgotten our role within the household. Where some men, at least the new age men, they're comfortable with their women working and they're staying at home. I know one particularly, and I can say this because, now I'm not going to say because somebody might in my neighborhood might
No, no, don't do
watch,
that. Don't do that.
but it's one that he plays the stay at home husband role. And when I first noticed stuff like that, I was like, man, that's you
But I
know,
don't really think there's nothing wrong with that though.
is not, but it is. If we talk about a man's role in leadership, I feel like it is. If
So
your
think about
if
it.
your
All
child,
right.
huh?
So this is how I think about it, right? When I first see, it's kind of hard not to be too personal on here, and I'm trying to be careful about what I say and don't say. But there's a certain point in time when I was in a relationship, the goal was for me to work, and then she was going to focus on her goals, and she was going to focus on getting schooled and doing the things that she wanted to do, and then we would switch roles. Once she got to where she wanted to be, she would fall back, and then I would go and focus and do what I supposed to have done. Right? It
Mm-hmm.
didn't quite work out that way. But let's just say that this woman has an idea or a job or something that's going on, and it causes her to travel or be in a corporate world or corporate spaces and doing these different things. Whereas though you're looking at your kids, and especially in today's world, and the stuff that's going on that we don't really need to get into right now. What if he stayed home and that's him being the leader, what I'm saying, in that position to support the household, what I'm saying? But at the same time, I don't really think that that makes you less of a leader in your household if she still comes home and know how to honor you as such person. And that's why I said that a lot of that stuff just falls back to honoring.
So if you say it like that, and I'm not gonna get personal. I'm
Right.
not, because if I go get personal, then you understand why
Mm-hmm.
I said that about the particular individual.
Mm-hmm.
You said if she comes back home and still honors you,
Yeah, but see, you're
because they
talking
have
about a worldly
because
concept.
hold on, because they have an agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Have an
Mm-hmm.
agreement, just like how you and your past relationship, you had an agreement saying, hey, this is the plan. Remember when we
Mm-hmm.
talked about this the last time, I said most of us, we marry for the wrong reasons. We marry for love and not for understanding. And I think most of us, when we get married because I love this person, that's most of the time the relationship doesn't work out, because you can love a person today and hate the person tomorrow. If that was the
Tina
case, then you
Turner was
wouldn't
a
have
prophet.
nasty divorces, because you told me 2, 3 days ago you loved me. Now you're asking for a divorce. So if you
Mm-hmm.
marry or you're in a relationship with a person with understanding, then it makes more sense, and you guys are able to build together. Take the love part out. That love is just a bonus. I love the person who I have understanding with. That's it. The foundation of your relationship needs to be on understanding. That relationship that I was talking about is not on that understanding. It's
But
about you go do this and I'm gonna try to do my own thing. There wasn't no communication, because now one person don't honor the other. So let's just put it to that terms. So that's what I'm saying. When I say the role has been reversed, I totally agree with you. If there is an understanding of the men's the man and the woman saying, hey, you do this and I'm gonna take care of this, and then you come back and help me here now so I can get there, it's perfect. But when we don't have that understanding, which most relationships nowadays don't, because the roles have been reversed, where men are putting more of the responsibility on the females, because the men in the household, to me personally, I feel like we have lost our way and we have given our leadership over to the women. So
I
the
think
question
they
I have,
gave
or
up.
one would ask, is then, Aaron, how do men, how do we get back into that rightful place where we take ownership of our leadership, not to be controlling of our wives, but to be put back, as you like to say, in God's order?
First, it has to come to an acknowledgement of who you are. You
Amen.
have to understand who you are. Um, One thing I was, this thing is really is poking at me, bro.
Go ahead.
So I hope and pray if this person ever watched this podcast, they don't think I'm ever attacking them, ever, because it's not about that, but it's the mindset and the concept. And in all actuality, is a black woman, and she wrote a book, and I'm proud of her for writing a book and telling what you just said on like Facebook. You're telling your truth,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I hope she does successful. I hope she does well. Like I said, I'm not bashing nobody or attacking anybody. But the name of her book was something like "My Husband and My Kids Can Wait," right? So it kind of talks about the concept that you were saying, like "My husband
Mm-hmm.
and my kids can wait." And I put a post on Facebook, and I was like, nowadays, like people really hiding behind mental health. This self care and this self love to certain degrees become very selfish.
Mm.
And what you're talking about to me is a part of pride. See, people have built themselves up in pride. People build themselves up in their ego. They did not rebuild themselves through humility. People build these walls up in these shrines, and they do these things to protect themselves from their past hurt, their past pains, or whatever the case may be, and they start idolizing themselves and worshiping themselves and become very selfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we was to ever get back to that role and get back to this place, we have to first tear those walls down. We have to tear those walls down. We have to get back to the basics. We have to get back to the beginning. And the reason why, I even brought up the whole topic about that book, because my thing is, when this person had a kid in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that kid's, but I know they went to have more kids. And this person, that kid's father might not be their kids. But let's just take for the fact that that's not the original, all your kids' father.
Mm-hmm.
So now that your husband and your kids are waiting on you to get yourself together, right, and
Mm-hmm.
do whatever you need to do, first of all, you got to understand these kids, we selfishly bring children into this world. They do not ask to be here. We selfishly bring them here because we want to have children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how can that wait? You come home, you got to feed that child. You got to take care of that child. Thank
Mm-hmm.
God you had somebody that was patient enough to stay by your side See, a man who knew who he was and knew who his role and was capable of loving you through that,
Mm-hmm.
which is the importance of having, a self identity
Mm-hmm.
and knowing who you are as a man and trying to get to that goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say that, what if it didn't work out that way? Oftentimes it don't work out that way. That you chose a partner or a person that's going to sit back and allow you to get you together and work on you. You know what I'm saying? While we over here doing the things that we are doing. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of crazy to even say that this person is a partner of mine. This is my partner, and I'm going to leave you so that I can be selfish and focus on me. Why can't we get it together? Why can't we do this thing together? I don't know all the stories of it, but that was just one of the things that crossed my mind. But as you said, for us to get back to that original state of men learning how to lead in our households, we have to really get back to self-identity. We gotta, I think, like you said, we gave up our position. We forfeited our position.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if men stood up and became who they were destined to be, a lot of these things in this world would not exist. You got men out here. The only way to say it is you tricking for real. And I know T.I. and Wayne said it ain't tricking if you got it,
Oh, it's
but even
tricking.
but
Oh,
even
it's
if you
tricking.
got it, you still tricking,
Oh, it's
bro.
tricking. Yeah, you
you
paying
know,
for it. You
even if
tricking.
you got it,
You
you
tricking.
still tricking.
Oh, you
So
tricking.
yeah, so at the end of the day, it's like when did it become cool to, like, I know some people like going to strip clubs and doing this and the other, but if you made a standard, if you set a standard, and I think that's where it really begins with your standard. My standard in my life is love, peace, joy, happiness. Nothing outside of that can't come inside. You can't come in. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got negative um, energy, every day you nagging, you fussing, you complaining, you just and the other. You don't have a willingness to bend. You don't have a willingness to grow. You don't have a willingness to be more than you really are. Then you can't really exist in my aura. You can't
Mm-hmm.
exist in my space. I'm going to love you, but I'm going to love you from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to care about you and I'm going to help you if I can, but I'm going to have to do that from a distance because now I cannot allow that negativity in that space in there with me. We have to, like I said again, how can two uh, walk together unless they agree?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're agreeing to go in a particular direction in this household that I have a standard in, how can we get to the same place if you on one path and I'm on another path?
So then that goes to having the understanding from both from both the man and the woman in the relationship. Remember, we said don't marry because the person you love a person. And I think somebody put a comment. Man, my boy Vaughn, he had a comment. He said at my wedding, Pop said, "Love is not a feeling; it's a commitment," and it's true. And I also say to that, in addition to that, that it is you have to have that understanding. And I think, as you eloquently said it, men have given up or we have forfeited our position.
Warfare,
We
yes.
have forfeited position because I feel like we became too relaxed in our household.
I
We
just think I wouldn't say relax. I would say the attacks of this world is hard.
so
Like you
then
said,
then then,
like
then
on like you said, you address it from the last part, right?
right. So
I mean, the
if you're saying
standard of
from
what
the
we said
if you're
we supposed to.
saying the attacks from this world is hard, then then that opens the door for me to say, then man has grown weak within their or their belief in God.
I can't say that either.
Yeah, well,
I
you
mean,
can.
no,
You
no,
can and you should.
you can say
No, you
that,
can because Aaron,
but
the reason why hold on. The reason why I say you should is because this is to empower men to we talking about empowering the community. So it's okay to say it, and it's not to say to offend, but it's saying it to bring awareness to where we are in our society. If the Bible says, correct me if I'm wrong, if you see me doing something wrong, it is your obligation as a believer in Christ to come and tell me, say, hey, bro, what you're doing is wrong. Change from your ways, right? So if you saw me out there getting some chicken wings and then getting some chicken wings, it is your job to tell me to, hey, man, put those lemon pepper down and go back home to go get your chicken wings from your refrigerator. You dig what I'm saying? It is your because you're supposed to help build me up. right? So if we're talking about building demand to get back to the rightful place, and we know that this is a lapse because you're right, the temptations are strong. The just getting this, getting just being able to be a black man in the community is hard. Just being able to drive down to the gas station to get some gas without a white officer pulling you over, hell, that's tough. You dig what I'm saying? Depending on where you live at. So if we're saying that all these attacks are coming, then our prayers have also become weak. We're not
Okay.
praying enough as we should to ask God to strengthen us to be able to be the leaders that He's called us to be. Right?
So,
So that
so
you
it
said
says
no?
get knowledge. I said so.
Okay.
Get knowledge, get wisdom, before you get understanding. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Paul said what? I became all things to all people so that I can win some. The biggest part that we have to be able to um, get here is the understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
To sit back and just label it as weak, I think is misrepresentation.
Well, no,
And that's what I'm
weak
saying.
in the spirit. I'm not saying weak as physical man. I'm talking about
But
weak
think
in
about
spirit.
it. If we not had, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm 41. I'm 40. I'll be 41 this year. In my lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
in my lifetime, and this is not to offend anybody, I can say that I seen or have seen 3 real men in my life, right? My godfather is one of those men, right? But I really didn't get a chance. Like, he's been around, and I always could have reached out to him and connected to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that was you don't know how to understand how to value relationships, right? So how do I know that I need to reach out to him and get understanding and get, some kind of guidance when you don't know you need it? So I'm walking around in the world with a wife and a kid, and he had a wife and 2 children, and I never asked him, what is your perspective on manhood? So I was weak, but I wouldn't say that, you know what I'm saying, it was because of I didn't try. I just didn't know.
So let me
I
ask you.
just I
So
was
let me ask you this.
misguided. That's what I'm saying. So
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 do you think the men today they are trying? If you had to
but
honestly
that's what I'm
answer
saying.
that
I
question.
don't think they're trying because I don't think they know. You know what I'm saying? It's like the Emperor's New Robe, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think with all of this, like I said, this king stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
I don't.
I'm just
Men
saying.
shouldn't be calling each other kings
Here's
at all.
another one. Here's another one I meant to address.
Uh huh.
Peace, God. What's up, God? Is a
Yeah,
God
that
within?
the five
Bro,
percent is the
if I was a
that's
God, I would have not
the
have
five
created
percent.
this life for me, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, how about that? If I was a God, I would have had it way better. I'd have created more than that. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So that's another one that kind of like just my head sometimes. I don't know how that works. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But with all of these things that's happening, y'all naked. The men are naked. They walking around naked. They don't have a sense of identity when we've constantly. So Satan is subtle, right? That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he called him a serpent. And if you really think about a lot of stuff and like poison, this is what like reality TV show. Sorry, ladies, if y'all watching it, reality TV show is poison.
Mm-hmm.
If you really think about poison and how poison works, right? Poison never kills you off rip. Poison get in your system and it eats away at you slowly,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when I first saw the Bad Girls Club, God knows when, because a lot of people think that the Real Housewives started this mess, and it wasn't. It was the Bad Girls Club. That's the
Mm-hmm.
first one I was ever really aware of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody laughing, hee hee, that's cute, that's funny. I'm only watching it for entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how many of them people you know that watch that slowly start behaving just like the very thing that they started looking at?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with us. We have slowly started looking at, here's a big one, Freddie Gray incident. We go back to that one, right? When I was
Mm-hmm.
looking around, where are the real men in this world today? Where are the real leaders? I asked this years ago. It's kind of weird because I'm glad we finally get to this point. There were none unless they wanted attention.
Mm-hmm.
There were none unless they were getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Let that lawyer who's representing that young boy that just died come
You
here and
talking
like,
about
no,
Crump, right? You talking
yeah,
about
Crump,
Benjamin Crump?
Crump. Like that, oh, he shows up at all of these things.
I do
But
not
if
like him at
somebody
all,
died
man.
in West Baltimore right now, he ain't coming here. These leaders, all of the church leaders and all of these people came together. Oh, we're gonna talk to the Crips and the Bloods. And they all had a photo op and they were walking together in these churches. Where are they now when these same people are dying in a very district in their own community? So I just think they have been suckered in accepting, like, yo, I have to be successful. I have to be this. I have to be that. Y'all, they started chasing after things that they were never meant to chase after. They took their eyes off of what's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And now they left our women uncovered. They left our kids uncovered. I remember one time this guy, I told him, I said, hey man, why you don't go to the court and try to get visitation? And because he was like, I can't visit my kids because my baby mom wants me to watch the other 4 kids. He said, I'm just here to watch my kids. I said, so why you don't go through the court process and do it? Think he ever did it? No, he didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? And now you totally allowed this situation and the courts and this, that, and the other to take you away from your kids where you don't even have a bond with them no more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they need you. These kids in this world, they need you. So for you to sit back and leave your kids uncovered, for us as men to leave our women uncovered, not set a standard and represent who we supposed to be as a man, don't get me wrong, it's hard. They've been vilifying us. They've been emasculating us. They've been taking us off of TV shows. They glorify the drugs. They glorify the money. They glorify success. That's the reason why these churches and stuff is failing now, because now churches turned into a business, which was never intended to be that way. Y'all was so chasing after titles and clout, which is the worst disease there is in this world. Clout is the worst disease in this world. It's the worst pandemic. That's the real pandemic out here.
Mm-hmm.
All this daggone clout chasing and attention seeking. It's the worst type of poison that's in this world right now. But, when you talk about leadership
Uh-huh.
and you talk about, what it looks like a leader has to be someone with a vision.
Mm-hmm.
They got to lead us past, they have to be able to see a situation, have enough knowledge, enough wisdom to lead us out of situations like, oh, this is dangerous. This is not for us. This is not for my people. You have to be able to accept, and this is the one part about leadership nobody talks about, the persecution. The reason why these real men is not leading the way they want to lead or the way they should be leading is because they don't want to really accept the persecution. No one out here is getting persecuted like that. I'm almost sure we're going to start accepting persecution in a little bit, because we're going to start speaking the truth and start saying the real things out of here. And the church is going to get upset. People are going to get upset. Like I said, this whole selfishness and this self-love, like, people know how to market and take advantage of anything. Even when I was telling you when you was out there marching up in this whole Black Lives Matter
Yeah,
and
you
stuff.
told me go back home, man.
Go home. Wow, now look at the Black
You
Lives
told me
Matter
go back.
people. They got
You
caught
told me
up
go
with
back home.
fraud in Florida, with $10 million house in Florida. Yo, it's capitalism at its worst. Capitalism do work, but this is at its worst right now. And we're living in an age where people are just being selfish.
And
A
and and,
leader,
and
what we're supposed to be doing right now, I'm sorry, Twan, what we're supposed to be doing is provoking change, bro.
mm-hmm.
And that's what this is about. We're supposed to provoke the change.
And that's why I said it's okay to let them know if we falling weak, because at the end of the day, iron sharpen iron, and we're supposed to build the man back up to take their rightful place in God's order. And that's why I said that if they're weak, then we need to let them know, like, hey man, we're falling weak. We forfeited our position. We forfeit our position within the world. And God, as you said last week, which I love last week. Again, if you guys are tuning in, welcome to the Final Notice podcast. This is the part 2 of our last week conversation of men in leadership. This week, we are attacking, or we are trying to get to the understanding man's leadership role in the household, in marriages, relationships. Um, Last week you said it's you said it very well when you said that, we're free more agents, right? In the sense that God didn't force us to do what he wanted us to do. He
Right.
gave us that privilege. But the thing that you said that really captivated my mind was the way you said God could have created women first,
Yep.
but He said, "Let us create a man as in our own image," meaning
Mm-hmm.
that He saw value. Not saying He saw or He devalued women, because women was asked not by from God but by from men. Man asked for a woman to be on this earth because Adam saw everything that God had created, as we know, and he said that he didn't have a companionship, right? He didn't have anybody to himself. So,
Let me correct that real quick because I want to clear
man,
that up. God looked upon man and said it's not good for him to be
be
alone.
alone. Okay, I'm sorry. So,
That's Go
so
ahead.
when God looked and said he shouldn't be alone, he also created a woman to add as his counterpart. But God took the time to create a man first. So if he created a man first with his own hands, right? And he said, let them have dominion and control of all things that's been created. And he said, you are the head and not the tail. So that means that we have a responsibility that was a divine responsibility that is given to us as men to be in God's order. But once we fall out of that divine leadership role, then things go in chaos. As you have said, our children are getting in trouble. Our women are not being protected. Everything about our household and about our community has become exposed to the outside world. And that's why you see the way that they have infiltrated through the churches, we in the prison systems, we in the work systems. We come in and we do half-ass job because we don't even value ourselves. We want to get paid, but we don't even want to put in that extra work to get that extra money. You get what I'm saying? So it's like we have to get back to the foundation of why God created us and how important it is for a man to be in that leadership role, to be able to have the covering over our household and our women and our children. But we cannot sit here and say, oh, well, we're going to blame just everything on society. No, we got to blame ourselves. At what point do we as men take back our rightful position? We forfeit it. We give it away. Now we got to go back and take it. But in order for you to take it, like you said, we have to identify that, we've done something wrong. And we have to correct it. And correcting it is by taking that rightful place. And this will lead into my second question. What are the consequences? What are some of the consequences that comes with a leadership role for a man?
I mean, we already see the consequences. Like you sell out. You know, like I said, those that are leaders, it's hard being a leader. It really is. One thing you can't do as a leader is leave when it's hard, yo. You cannot bail out. When times get hard, that's when the leader's supposed to be able to get down on his face and seek direction and where we're supposed to go. You know what I'm saying? Um, a lot of us, we aren't willing to take correction.
Mm.
Again, that's the pride part of us
Mm-hmm.
that's been provoked in us. We have to be able to listen. We have to be able to take correction. Um, we have to understand and know that there's new ways. Here's a good example. Moses, leader, Israel, all these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they first got out of Egypt, I was sitting back, I was trying to figure out, why did it take them so long? Why did he make them wait? Not only that they was complaining and going through all of these different trials and tribulations, but God had to kill off an entire generation of people because they refused to adapt. They refused to change and grow. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like we have to embrace this new weird stuff that's out here in this world today and all the stuff that's going on that makes you question your own education.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, we're not talking about that. But we have to grow to the point where we have to have this level of understanding. We have to learn, like you said, a good leader is going to learn how to follow,
Mm-hmm.
right? A good leader is going to listen. A good leader is going to be willing to serve. That's the main thing. Like some of these leaders in these churches, right? They say, "Oh, I'm here to serve the people." And they serve like, but you can't reach or touch some of these people.
Mm-hmm. They got security
They
guards, man.
can't even walk among the people. They make their leaders go out
Mm-hmm.
and deal with the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting back like, yo, where did that come from? Jesus
We,
was a man of the people. He walked among the people.
mhm,
So you can't set yourself so high and so unobtainable that people can't feel your presence or feel your need. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
We have to be an example. You know what I'm saying? We have to be teachable, humble. We have to have character and principle.
mhm,
That's how we get back to that. Like those are when we don't have all of those things and we just show that, all you have to do is look at your local community. Look what's happening. The men outside selling drugs. It's weird because I never understood how people can move into a community, right?
mhm,
Unfortunately, the bad stigmas to the people who got probably like public housing. They move into your neighborhood. Next thing you know, they bumping the music, they selling the drugs, the neighborhood's going down. But those people looking at you too. They know how you feel about them and treat them. Those are people as well.
mhm,
Who want to walk up to them? I remember I moved in a neighborhood like that. You know what I'm saying? One of the I just walked up to them, hey man, excuse me, hey, can y'all turn y'all music down? It was 11 o'clock at night. They had the car radio playing. They were sitting on the steps. I'm like, yo, I gotta go wake up. I gotta work in the morning. Can y'all please turn y'all radio down? Went over there, approached them like a man. I treated them like they had respect. I'm not gonna be scared and treat them like juveniles and rejects and start judging people. Like you
mhm,
can't just do that. You have to go and engage people. You can't be fearful of people.
mhm,
I'm gonna go talk to these young men. And then I remember one time this guy walked up to me on the corner store. He said, "Man, you giving me hope." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" He said, "I see you with your daughter. I don't have my daughter. You give me hope." And I was like, "Wow." And I just was being me.
mhm.
Take care of my daughter. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. And they are looking at us. They are watching us. Like that's one of the things about this podcast. There's a lot of believers that be in these situations and know that there's a lot of wrong going on.
But they don't
They
say nothing.
they waiting for somebody. But see, that's what I'm saying.
They don't say nothing.
You have to empower them. It has to take somebody. When people have not been taught how to stand up, and people's like, when the world looks like everything is so far left, who's the person that's going to be right?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to wonder, like, yo, like I said, like, how do you help a racist understand that they're racist?
You got to educate them. You got to
You gotta
talk to them.
educate people. You gotta talk to
You
people. You
got to
can't
talk
be
to them.
afraid of them. I remember when I was younger, uh, I was told you shouldn't argue the word. Don't argue the word, and it made it seem like you can't have conversations with people under those contexts. But what it means by like we shouldn't be just going back and forth and not really listening or having something to say is that because the Bible calls us to come and reason together. How
Mhm,
can you reason with people if you don't have that dialogue?
mhm,
How can you reason with people if you don't have nothing to say? You know what I'm saying? Or you can't be so busy trying to. I don't care if I don't care about proving myself right.
mhm,
That's not my goal and that's not my intent. My job is to plant a seed and to share something with you. Whether you accept it or not is on you.
mhm,
Rather you allow that seed or allow me to water a seed in your life is up to you. I'm going to be walking by my convictions and I'm going to be humble enough to receive whatever somebody else had for me. But that's just about walking in humility.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's me being so I don't have a pride issue or arrogant issue where though like I want to be just this self-righteous type person and I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. Like, nah, that's insane, bro.
Yeah,
You can't do it.
and that's why I feel like it's important to have these uncomfortable conversations so that we can get to that comfortable spot where when we talk about the leadership in not just as a man in whole, as you know, for us men in whole, we talk about it from the community aspect of it, from the church aspect of it, to the household aspect of it, and as overall. Because I feel like if we had more men or had more people to stand up and speak up when things ain't going right, not
Because
saying
the
in a
world said to
disrespectful,
each his own, right?
right,
Remember
to each
that?
his own.
The
So
world said, you gotta let people fall off a cliff in order for them to learn.
right, that's what the world
And
would
it's
have
so
you.
Yeah, and there's so many people, especially believers, have bought into that concept.
yeah, yeah.
I remember. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
No, I don't want to tell a story. I'm glad it's done.
Okay.
Like I said, it's
Yeah,
so
you
much
be
of the
killing me,
stuff.
boy.
So much of the stuff is so personal.
No, but I
But
understand.
again,
But that's
I
no,
don't
but
want to make nobody look bad. You know what I'm saying? I
no,
don't want to
and
make
it's not
people.
to make anybody look bad, but this is a personal experience, and I
Yeah,
respect that
but you
because
also
there's
got to
some
honor
things
people
that
while you're doing it too, though. Like,
say
cause
it again.
I say I want to honor people when I do it. You know what I'm saying? Because my
Yeah.
thing is, again, a lot of this can be misperceived as you trashing someone or
Mm-hmm.
putting them down. And I don't want to do it in that manner. If I can't do it in a way that shed lights where people can grow from it, I don't want to just blurt it out and then try to clean it up later. You know what I'm saying? So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it, just like I said, I'm just trying to have a little restraint, a little bit of wisdom when I articulate some of these things. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
I could totally respect that. But me on the other hand, you come over here with us like
I know. Nah, but they
because
work
we.
sometimes.
I'm gonna just
It
tell
works
you.
sometimes. I mean,
I'm gonna tell you like what it is.
You gonna
Yeah,
cut
I mean, 'cause
somebody's ear off, man.
the thing is though, bro, when you talk about
You
that
gonna
church
cuss them out and get
aspect,
them saved.
when you talk about it from the church aspect, I've been felt like the church then fell off.
A long
The
time
leadership,
ago. Long time
not
ago.
all of them, majority of them has
Long,
fallen off where they
long
have
time ago.
conformed to the ways of this world. I feel like a lot of these churches have conformed to the way of these
When they
world.
started putting the smoke machines and the laser
You know
lights,
what I'm saying?
like,
You
I
get what I'm
mean,
saying?
when did the gospel become not enough?
I'm not even. I'm gonna call your boy out, the one that moved from Baltimore down
Don't
to
do it.
Georgia.
Don't do it. Don't
I'm
do
gonna
it,
do
man.
it.
Don't
That
do it.
Bama came all the way from Baltimore,
Do it.
come to
Don't do
Georgia.
it.
I'm like, man, this Bama right here, man. I seen the post. People try. Well, he was talking about for medicinal use. I'm not trying to hear none of that. I'm not trying to hear none of that because like you said, I'm not gonna put something out there and then try to clean it up. He put something out there and then came back and tried to clean it up. I'm not
But
trying to
my
hear none
thing
of
is,
that.
like you said, is the standard. You know, though. So I remember years ago when I was in church like that, and this is something I told somebody, like, if you really, and those who really is in tune, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really want them to search inside themselves.
And after you
Because
finish saying
a
this,
while ago, we heard a clergy call in the spirit.
mm-hmm.
And in the spirit, they was preaching, the wall is down, the wall is down, the wall is down. But when have anybody ever came back and said that the wall got put back up? The wall never went back up. And in fact, the wall was down so bad, it ain't no wall there no more. There is no standards, bro. There is nothing out there that's separating the world from the kingdom. There's nothing out there. I'm not saying that everybody out here doing this, but people so get caught up in this. Yo, my good people, I love you guys. If I put on Facebook a while ago, please start interviewing your leaders. Like, seriously, start asking them questions. You know, why do we have two services? I was a minister in the church. Did y'all? And I'm asked to see y'all their bylaws if they have them. Every church is supposed to have bylaws. The reason why they got them bylaws and they be having them two services sometimes, I'm just giving you a nugget because we get on this another time, is because that second service, that offering goes directly to the pastor. It has nothing to do with God at all. I'm just being honest. Look at your bylaws. Your deacons tell your pastor what they supposed to talk about, or they ain't gonna get paid. So if God had an authentic move in your church service, and they come up to you and say, yo, you can't talk about that. We ain't talking about nothing homosexual. We ain't talking about none of this stuff, or we ain't gonna pay you. You got a rebuttal? Go ahead, rebuttal. It's fine. It's fine.
No, I don't have a
I'm
rebuttal.
talking about, I was reading the context. I was reading the comments. He said, I need to rebuttal. Go ahead, rebuttal, Von Harris. It's fine. You just part of this conversation.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying. It's part of that. Where's it? You know what happens? It's like when people go and say, like, oh, the deacons in charge of the church. Yes, the deacons are in charge of the church, but the deacons can't tell God how to speak and move through his people. And if the people, I remember one time I was sitting in church service, the pastor was preaching so good, I was the only one standing up. Like, I don't know what's wrong with these people up in here, but this man talking something good. But you know what he did? Because nobody was grabbing it, He dumbed the message down so far just to make people stand up and hoop and holler and scream. And I was like, you got to be, and I said right back, you got to be kidding me. He was basically talking about reconnecting and plugging back in to the source, kind of like what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. Understand who you are. He dummied the message down so bad just so the people just jump up and scream and holler and fart and cry, run down the aisle and do all this other stuff. And then they wonder why they still got to fight and deal with the same demon that they've been wrestling with, you know what I'm saying, all week long. That same demon you was wrestling all week long, you come to church and I got delivered. I feel good. I'm running around. You can't remember nothing that man just talked about. Nothing that man just said. And that demon jumped right back on your behind Monday morning.
Hey, yeah. And that be the ones my mom be like, when you went to church, and when you ask somebody you went to church, they're like, yeah, church was amazing. Independent. So well, what was the message from? I don't know, but church was real good.
So I'm gonna put this up here. What if the pastors do not take a salary? Do they still get a second offering? I'm not saying this is every church. What I'm saying is I've been around long enough.
Hold on.
I've seen it.
Hold on. Because I have a serious conversation about the pastors getting paid anyway. So Latoya, that's a great question, but that's a different topic, and I don't want to get onto it because we're well over time by 7 minutes, right? But that's a great question, Aaron. This was part 2 of Men in Leadership, right? And I feel like
that was my bad. That was my bad. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. We get part 1, part 2, so this is a great conversation. We're going over by 7 minutes, so we're gonna end it here. We're definitely gonna end it here. But if you have any questions, if you have any more comments, you can inbox us or email us. Our information is down there. You can write us, comment on it, and we'll follow up with you. Because I definitely check the comments to see if anybody have any special requests or calls or needed, somebody to reach out to. Inbox us, message us. We'll definitely get back to you. But today's episode, again, it was about men in leadership, and this was the part 2 of it. And I feel like it's a great conversation because it's conversation about trying to get back into the rightful place, trying to get back under the godly order. So with that being said, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we understand that we're not here to bash, but we're here to bring that awareness, because the worst thing you want to do is follow somebody to the slaughter. You don't want to follow no pastor, no church to the slaughterhouse. So just bring that awareness. And he's right. You have the right to interview these people. Anybody that come there, man of God, you have the right to interview them. Who called you? Who told you to become? That's what I would ask.
I would talk about more so like I said, even with that question she offers is structure, because a lot of these things is done. If y'all still watching, go read the 48 Laws of Power, and then go read the Art of War, and then because that's something that's an assignment me and JoJo gonna do, and we're gonna compare the Art of War and the 48 Laws of Power to how many of them are actually instituted within the church. But see, these are things that we don't see. These are things that we don't pay attention to, but they know it. They understand it. And, the oppression within those walls is sick. That's why people are leaving.
Yeah.
There's enough of it, and in this world and where we are right now, it's time out for all of that.
People tired. They tired of the nonsense. And that's why we bring an open shame to the kingdom. We allow these people in leadership to lead us incorrectly to the point where it's drawing people away from Christ. And the job is not to draw away from Christ, it's to draw to Christ.
I'm sorry, great message, a great thing to listen at, right? It's a great nugget for everybody if they're still on. And I'll play this, bless you. Like I said, I had a great teacher, right? What's the guy named Uzzah? We remember Uzzah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uzzah was the one that tried to catch the ark.
Mm-hmm.
And Uzzah died. His leader, David, killed him. My life and the things that I have in my life and my calling is too important for me to follow some random person in their disobedience. Because David was disobedient. God told him not to move it.
Mm-hmm.
David moved the covenant, and because Uzzah tried to do an honorable thing by
Mm-hmm.
not letting God touch the ground, he died.
Mm-hmm.
That's why leadership is important,
Important.
because you can follow behind the wrong person, and
And
they can be just as disobedience can be, and then you gonna have to pay the price in your life.
man, I'm telling you, bro,
Ain't none of that to
and
roll
I'm
here, man.
telling you, I always tell myself this. I said, before I let somebody lead me to hell, I will walk myself there, man, because I refuse to give that power to somebody to confuse me to follow him. No, it's better for me to say at least I brought myself here. At least
These are
if
things
anybody say,
that
how did you
don't
get here?
need to be spoken about. I
Hey
don't
man, I
understand that.
like what I was doing, so I stuck with it. You dig what I'm saying? But it is important to follow. If you're going to follow, if you're going to go to a church, follow. You want to make, you want to test. The Bible said to discern all spirits. You got to be able to discern these spirits and find out who's in leadership, who's your leaders, and what do they look like. What are your leaders, and what do they look like? Um, but that's another topic. Again, this is a wonderful topic, and I feel like it's a blessing for all of us to understand the roles and the importance of leadership and why it has to go in the divine order. Again, this is the Final Notice podcast. Before we go, we always do this every show. What is your final notice for today or for this week?
Pray for your leaders, man. There's a
Mm,
reason why it's in there. It's the reason why I spoke about. Pray for us, because since we started doing this is one thing we was talking about is these scars, right?
mm,
Jesus had to show his disciples the scars. He had to show them the scars so they could believe in what he was talking about. He's seen them. He
mm,
came back to show them his scars. And a lot of leaders and a lot of people try to hide their scars.
mm,
But I can honestly say, since we've been doing this podcast and trying to help our people and try to build a community, we don't know where God is going to lead us in this, but we just answering the call. Pray for us because we've been attacked every time, every week since we did this podcast.
Boy, I'm trying to tell you.
So, especially when you're in a world nowadays, when you're trying to provoke change
Mhm.
and get people back in a place where they belong, you know. So, my final notice or my final thought for the night would be pray for your leaders. Pray for them. There's a reason why I say that. They need the government. I used to thought it was a joke. Like, they don't answer to God. Like, they don't listen to God. But pray for them nonetheless, because that's what we are required to do.
Mhm. Well, on that note, my final notice or my final thought for today's or for this week will be the same thing. It's just that search within yourself. Search within yourself and search for that inner peace. Search for that small voice that always speak the truth. Not as loud as I get, or what Jay Z said, as animated as Busta Rhymes. Search for that small little voice and let that voice direct you in everything that you're doing. Because it is a small voice that becomes very loud in your life to help you sustain your life the way it's supposed to be. So listen to that small voice and let it be loud in your life to be able to sustain you. Because it's two things. Either you're going to make it, and when I say make it, I mean you're gonna make it, but make it the right way, or you're gonna suffer and then suffer on the back end as well. And I remember I told you what my mom told me. She said it's better to die once and live twice than to live once and die twice. I'd rather die once and live twice, right? I want to live twice. I want to die here while I'm living here and then also have an afterlife. Than for me to live here, die, and then die in the afterlife. So again, thank you for tuning in to Finding Orders podcast. Please follow us on both platforms. We're on YouTube. Please, when you go on YouTube, subscribe so that way you get notifications. We come on every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Man, I'm telling you guys, man, if you're not tuned in, if you know somebody that needs to tune in, man, please let them know about it. If it's somebody that is lost, if you have any prayer requests, inbox us. We won't put your name out there. We will pray for you. We will stand in accordance as what the guidelines give us in the authority of God to be able to pray for each other, empower each other. Because at the end of the day, we're here to teach each other. But most importantly, I would rather not just see Aaron here on this earth and that's it. I'd rather want to see him here and also see him in the afterlife. So with that being said, man, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, please follow us on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Y'all have a blessed night, a blessed week, and thank you for tuning in.